What's going on, horror fanatics? I think this video is long overdue, and I think most people would agree with me on this topic. Horror is officially dead. I mean, just take a second to think about horror movies that have been released or scheduled to be released this year. Nothing has stuck out, nothing has been deemed a potential classic or anything close to it. And it's just not this year. It's been like this for the past 10 to 15 years. And of course, you have some outliers, but to be completely honest, it's only a handful of those. And I feel like some horror fans force themselves to like current horror movies because it's nothing else to look forward to. Look, every horror franchise is completely dead, and the well has run dry. Think about it. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So many movies, so many remakes, reboots. Just in that franchise alone, I mean, it's so many movies. And that's not the only one. You have the Halloween franchise, same thing. Friday the 13th, same thing. Nightmare on Elm Street, same thing. Child's Play, Final Destination, Scream, The Conjuring, Paranormal Activity, Candyman. I can go on and on. Every single horror franchise and even its subgenre like paranormal movies and all of that, they have completely emptied the clip. It's no more stories to tell. And I can't even forget about the Amityville horror franchise. I had to throw that one in there because they have like 20 movies in their catalog. But anyway, it's bad enough these horror movies are being oversaturated, but the worst part is that they come and go, and they're not memorable. And there's no new horror icons. Maybe Art the Clown, but the Terrifier franchise is like an underground type horror. And there's no real story to those movies. Unless I just don't get it. But if there's actually a story or a plot to the Terrifier franchise, can someone please explain to me in the comment section, please? But to continue to talk about how all of these horror movies and these franchises have exhausted every single storyline possible, it just seems like they're gasping for straws right now. Because in my opinion, once these iconic franchises reach the TV series or the streaming service markets, listen, if a franchise is going to streaming series or TV series, then that franchise is officially done. I could argue Scream bounced back, but for the most part, every horror franchise TV series was completely awful. Scream. That series was just awful. I tried to give the first episode a try, and I just couldn't get through it. They didn't have the mask right. The storyline was completely stupid. I don't know. That's another story. And then you had the Chucky TV series. I tried to give that a try season 1, and it's just so much stuff going on in that. And then you had I Know What You Did Last Summer, the Amazon Prime remake or, TV series or whatever. I personally, I liked it. I'm not gonna, lie. I liked it because I'm a fan of that franchise and I love the story surrounding that franchise. And, that's why I like it. But overall, that TV series didn't get a lot of love. That's why it only has one season. But anyway, The Exorcist, that TV series did kind of horrible. Not a lot of people talked about it, so there's that. Then you had Freddy Nightmares. Was that kind of popular back in the day? Maybe, but, not enough hype like the movies. Crystal Lake, which was supposed to be coming out this year, if I'm not mistaken, or next year or whatever, but that has been canceled or put to a pause as of right now. A Halloween series, which is definitely going to be horrible in my opinion. I don't see why. I don't know. It's no more story to tell with the Halloween franchise. And then there's Welcome to Derry, It spinoff. Now, why in the world do we need that? Deep down, people who are excited for that particular spinoff or any of these spinoffs from these horror franchises, they know deep down that it's gonna suck. The proof is in the pudding. Every single horror TV series has been a shit show. Like I said, the horror genre is oversaturated with the same movies. And don't try to make a case for movies like It Follows, Hereditary, Midsommar, all those A24 type horror movies. People love saying these movies are unsettling, and these movies are just your typical cult movies. What is so scary about that? A crazy cult with naked old people, slow burn, too slow really. And with all these art visuals to cover up the stupid storyline, they have these cool shots or whatever like that to get people talking, but the storyline is ultimately surface level or just stupid. And people review these movies and say it's so deep and so many elements into it, and I'm like, it's not. Just like Hereditary, look, no lie, I slightly fell asleep on Hereditary in the movie theater in 2017, and I almost walked out. Once it was just too slow. It was stupid, and the ending was stupid as well. So I feel like Hereditary is overrated, and a lot of people try to put it on this high pedestal as this top echelon horror movie, which I don't think it is. Hereditary is overrated, and I stand on that statement. And Midsommar, that movie is garbage. One of the worst movie experiences ever for me. It follows, according to y'all horror fans, was the best thing since sliced bread. And let me name out some more movies that these new horror fans are trying to push as the best thing ever. You have X, you have Pearl, Hereditary, Terrifier, Insidious, The Black Phone, Sinister. Trust me, it's plenty more, but those are just some off the top of my head. Now, how can those movies compete with movies like Rosemary Baby, The Exorcist, The Omen, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween, Black Christmas, the original? Let me go back. The original Halloween, 1978, the original Black Christmas, Jaws, The Shining, the original Amityville Horror. These are movies that y'all are trying to compare to these new movies, and you just can't. And y'all have to stop throwing the word classic around, because that word is being used loosely around the horror community. Now, the only current new age horror movie that could compete and, be deemed a classic is the 2013 Conjuring movie. That movie can compete with all the movies that I just named previously. That movie is definitely a top 10 horror movie of all time. And you can argue and possibly put it in top 10, not top 10, but top 5 and maybe top 3. You can argue that. And maybe you can put the first Paranormal Activity as a classic as well, because that movie was a first of its kind, and it created so many other horror movies because of that one single movie. Oh, and personally, I might can throw in The Strangers from 2008. I love that movie. I didn't like it when I first seen it in the movie theater, but looking back on it, I like that movie. It got the feel of a 1970s movie. So, great story, great suspense, mood and atmosphere. So The Strangers, I feel like, it got a good balance between action and a slow burn. So, The Strangers is a great movie. And it's borderline a classic. I'm not sure if a lot of people look at it that way, but, it's on the fence with me. But here's the thing with those classic horror movies. They had less technology, less money, and less staff. But guess what? They were more creative because of all of that. And now you take a look at new age horror and the technology, I just feel like it created laziness. It's so convenient to add CGI nowadays, and it's like fast food. And don't get me wrong, it's not all about laziness with these new horror movies. Politics play a huge part in the movie industry nowadays. It did back in the day as well, but right now, every single movie in the industry have hidden agendas. And I'm not going to get deep into that, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I know a lot of people are excited for this Halloween TV series, but it's going to be a failure for the die-hard Halloween fans. And it's 100% guarantee, because every horror movie turned into a TV series or a streaming series has been a failure. It's 100% guarantee. So take that as you will. And another thing that has contributed to the death of horror is streaming. Streaming puts out anything, any and everything, just to fill content for the platforms, because most of these sequels or spin-offs are because of these platforms. But I just needed to get this off my chest, because I really don't see horror movies or a specific horror movie character in the future revitalizing horror and, getting it back to the level that it once was in the 70s or 80s. And even the 90s. The 90s had a good spark at the late end with the Blair Witch Project. I know what you did last summer, Scream. It had a good run. But it seems like soon as 2000 hit, it just went downhill. But yeah, I like I said, I just needed to get that off my chest. Whether people, want to admit it or not, horror is officially dead, and I don't see it coming back. And, it's the truth, and it's been like this for the past decade or maybe 2 decades. So yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this little quick video. And also, list some horror movies down in the comment section that you think is a modern day classic that can compete with the classics that I mentioned. And also, if you love any and everything horror movie related, paranormal related, then make sure you check out my channel, my previous content. If you like it, then make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell if you want to see every time I upload. As always, be safe, peace.